Student Council President, Mr. Manuel.
Good evening, everyone. Last Wednesday, my advisor sent a follow-up email to the 4 schools that still have 2 separate gown colors at graduation to see their opinion. Seminole Ridge replied saying that they will be keeping the traditional 2 colors as is. There was no real feedback. Jupiter High School, however, had more to say. Their SGA advisor, Michael Leonardo, wrote back, "We had a student forum yesterday and had another opportunity to speak to a very different and diverse group. Almost without exception, my earlier characterization was accurate. Most students have no concern for this. If a student identifies as a different gender and the school has a dual color graduation ceremony, the student should be allowed to choose, or the school could go with a monochromatic theme. The majority thought it was something of a boomer issue," a quote from multiple sources, "gender fluidity, at least to those who were willing to engage in conversation, was a non-issue for nearly every student with whom I spoke. There were 3 boys who had some simple, mildly disparaging things to say about the idea of gender identity, but even they said that a student should be able to wear the other color, asking, what's the big deal? We are still waiting to hear back from Lakewood High School and Pahokee High School, both who still participate in a 2-gown color graduation. Thank you."
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shaw.
We laugh down here because the boomer comment hit a lot of people in this room is probably the most significant one word that's been used in this room in 20 years.
It wasn't my words, I promise. I was quoting.
Academic Advisory Committee, do we have somebody here? It's only attached. Audit Committee? It's in writing, also attached to our agenda. Construction Oversight Review Committee, I know Mr. Doctor's here.
Good evening, Chairman Mr. Barbieri, board members, Superintendent Fenoy. My name is Lou Doctor. I'm a member of your Construction Oversight and Review Committee. We met on February 13th to discuss the agenda items that you have before you today. There were 9 items in total that we talked about. We had 7 Cork members to begin the meeting, and then 3 arrived later. It was the longest backup on I-95 going to your facility over in Riviera Beach that we have ever seen. So 3 people got a little late. So the first item was approved by a vote of 7-0. That's the contingency review. That's facilities construction on your agenda, FC1. FC2 is the annual fish report, fish certification. FISH stands for Florida Inventory of Schoolhouses, where your staff does a complete inventory of all the facilities and property that you own. It will move forward by a vote of 10-0. Under purchasing construction, the backup was 1,160 pages, so we do our homework. FC1, pre-qualified vendors, 1 new vendor was proposed and there were 2 renewal vendors. Under building code inspection services on a continuing contract, FC2, that was moved forward on consent. FC3, construction services at risk for Citrus Cove Elementary School core expansion, that was moved forward on consent. PC4, construction services at risk for Washington Elementary School modernization, that was moved forward on consent. PC5, design services for Palmosa, that was moved forward by a vote of 10-0. There was a discussion in terms of cost per student station, which is a state requirement that we can't exceed under severe consequences in terms of penalties from the state, and your staff gave us a good explanation why they were comfortable and had no problem reaching their cost per student station. PC6, design services, Watson Duncan Middle School, facility renovations, that was moved forward by a vote of 10-0. There was a minor typographical correction. And then PC7, construction manager at risk services for Wellington Elementary Schools, that was moved forward by a vote of 10-0. It needs a little bit of discussion. That was pulled last month because one of the Cork members felt that the payment backup was inappropriate and that the vendor was getting much higher pay for his services than he was received on 2 other compatible contracts. Your staff did an excellent review. They looked at 12 schools with appropriate and equivalent modifications with different vendors involved, and when they averaged the broad base of business in that particular area, they found out the rates for this particular school were in fact a little bit below average. So it shows you the problem in looking at an isolated picture and drawing conclusions without looking at the whole picture. Your staff did an excellent job of backing it up, and Cork recommended it go forward by a vote of 10-0. Finally, as you probably know, the staff gives us an update every month in terms of the schools under construction, the progress they've made, pictures of it, and also the plans for next month. When you put it all together, your staff has done an excellent job, and we appreciate the support that they give us. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Doctor.
Thank you.
District Diversity and Equity Committee, Charmaine Postal.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. The DDC met on January 23rd, 2020. On behalf of the DDC, we welcome the Manager of Equity Access, Keisha Starks, and Program Planner Cultural Competence, Equity and Access, Tamara Smith. The DDC voted and approved a subcommittee for DDC policy revisions that we are reviewing. The first meeting of the subcommittee was held on February 7th, and the next meeting is scheduled for March 4th, 2020 here at the district office. The agenda has been posted on the website. The DDC is proud of the continuous work of each active agencies as the committee continues to provide input for the equity metrics for FY 1920. We will update the board. The next meeting will be held Thursday, February 27th, 2020. That's next Thursday at 9 a.m. Thank you.
You're welcome. Actually, if you want to stay there, we're going to get into delegates at this point, and you can give the report for the Palm Beach County PTA.
Okay. So good evening again. On February 13th, over 100 proud parents attended the annual PTA Reflections Arts Program at Safe Schools in Boca Raton. The Reflections Program is a free program through the PTA that allows the children to explore their creative sides. It's a competitive program that is a nationwide program. We had about 13 schools that were advanced to the next round to the state level. And now at the state level, we have just about maybe 5 schools that will advance to the national level. So we'll tell you a little bit more about the Reflections program, not tonight because I have 2 minutes left. Excited to tell you all that at Florida PTA Annual Convention in July, our very own former PTA president and the district-owned Jen Martinez will be inducted as Florida PTA president at the convention in Innisbrook, Florida. Florida PTA members will have the opportunity to pass a resolution to enable us to more strongly advocate regarding issues related to chronic absenteeism. On April 27th is the third and last general meeting open to the public. We welcome all board members. We also welcome anyone in this room to attend that third general meeting, which will be held at Safe Schools, Boca Raton, Florida. And on May 15th is our annual awards ceremony. Each of your board advisors or your board representatives or your board assistants should have received an email with the invitations or some form of email inviting you to both April 27th and May 15th board members and superintendent. As we continue to make every child's potential a reality for our children, teachers, and community, I implore you to remember the words of Eric Thomas. Everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what real beasts do. Ask yourself, as we go into advocacy mode, are you in beast mode today? Thank you and have a great Black History Month.
Thank you. James Gavrillos, President and CEO of Our Education Foundation.
Good evening, Dr. Fenoy. Well, don't go, Wanda, I get better. And members of the school board. Each month, I try to give you a different facet of the work we do in partnership with the business community Tonight I'm going to focus on our GoTeach grants. In just a few short weeks, we'll be opening the application process. As I've shared with you in past months, we've gone in just 3 years from awarding 40 GoTeach grants. Last year we awarded 64. This year we awarded 94 grants, totaling over $107,000. 3 of those I'm going to highlight tonight, which I think showed the variety and, more importantly, the creativity of the amazing teachers in the Palm Beach County Public School District. Sherry Predmore, Haley Bartow, and Sharon Casucci at Palm Springs Middle received a GoTeach grant. And let me remind you, GoTeach grants for an individual teacher have a limit of just $1,000. For a collaborative effort, $1,500. And what these teachers are able to do with such small amounts, and business community, if you're listening, the more you support, the more we can give. With just a small grant, those 3 teachers at Palm Springs Middle have launched a program for students with behavioral disabilities, with intellectual disabilities, or deaf or hard of hearing to provide them a 4 to 10 week program at the Vince Ramos Therapeutic Equestrian Riding Center. These young students get the chance for an outdoor classroom experience. They get the chance to ride horses and interact with the animals and improve their social and emotional skills. All this with a grant of less than $1,200. The second grant that I'm going to highlight tonight is Jennifer Geronda at Lake Worth Community High School, who wanted to teach recycling. Her students took items from the recycle bin or had been upcycled and created clothing out of them. Some of these items are currently being displayed at the Norton Museum of Art. Their work was so incredible that Norton has picked it up and has been displaying their work. Again, a program funded by a GoTeach grant. The third and final illustration tonight comes from Boca Raton Spanish River High School, Mary Fish, a biology teacher down there. 2 years ago, she received a small GoTeach grant. Mary's father passed away 5 years ago from sepsis, from bacteria that were resistant to forms of penicillin. She took her small GoTeach grant and was encouraging her students to find some type of a wearable device that would allow doctors to monitor the levels of sepsis in patients. The students got so excited, she applied for, and I'm proud to say has received, from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a $10,000 grant for her students to pursue this biological and scientific research. There were only 14 of these awarded nationwide, and one of those right here in Palm Beach County, Spanish River High School, with a program that was started with a GoTeach grant from the Education Foundation. To the board, our fellow teachers, please apply for these grants. Our greatest joy is giving money away and supporting the work you do. And to the business community who support us, I think this program illustrates the real motivation behind GoTeach. It's a seed. It's a seed that we plant with the hope that with a small GoTeach grant, the students get inspired to further their research, to further their cause, to further their creativity, and God only knows where the future can take them. It has been said that no society truly advances until it plants trees under which it knows it will never sit. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your GoTeach grants. The application process opens up in just a few short weeks. Please encourage your principals and teachers to apply. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the work of your Education Foundation, serving the needs of the students, schools, and teachers in the finest school district in the state of Florida. And I'll see you tomorrow night at the CTE dinner.
See you tomorrow night. Thank you. All right, board members, we have the items on consent. Does anybody want to pull anything else?